Welcome to another episode of Out of the Blank Podcast. I'm here with Tim.
Hi, how's it going?
Tim, so I usually ask people, what do they do? But I'm going to ask, what defines you?
um, what defines me? I think yeah,
Badass,
this is
genius,
such a,
James Bond type? Come on now.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know about that. I do have the British accent, but I'm not sure if yeah. So I think at the moment, what defines me? Um, uh, I don't know. Just changing, I guess. So I'm in a bit of a not weird spot, but like a changing spot in my life. So obviously, I used to be. So about approximately a year ago, I used to be a 9 to 5 um, guy. I didn't really have my. I was just kind of just drifting through, and then suddenly something happened, and I suddenly started doing all kinds of just crazy stuff.
What do you mean by
Um,
crazy stuff? Are you like kidnapping animals in their sleep?
no, not quite, not quite. Nothing quite so outrageous.
That would be a more interesting conversation.
Well, yeah. Maybe we should pretend that's what we're doing. But yeah, um, I started a business. Started sort of thinking, more what do I think, in terms of politics. I proposed to my girlfriend. All kinds of stuff that sort of kind of think.
Well, what's the business?
The business is called Sword and Stone, and it's like a cookware business for guys.
So
Um,
you're a blacksmith.
Not quite. I'm more of the sort of I'm an enabler for uh
So you don't actually
like
make the knives. You
no,
more on
no.
the lines of just produce a company that makes great kitchenware.
Yeah, so it's a brand idea. So essentially I was thinking, okay, funnily enough, this actually happened about a year ago as well. I suddenly realized, oh yeah, I'm really into this, like cooking stuff. But I was like, okay, none of the stuff out there that is particularly interesting or very good. So I thought, well, let's make something that's just like literally, basically, I just thought, what would I want? And I just designed it around that. And
It's a beautiful
that's
idea. Like I have things in my drawer that I don't even use. Like there's I
yeah,
think a vegetable peeler. I'm like, the
yeah,
fuck? I eat the skin on
exactly.
my vegetables. Like I don't peel anything. You peel a
you're
broccoli, that would take a lot of fucking time.
yeah,
But, but
you're
like
a
even
real man. That's why.
yeah, even with a kitchen knife or something, I buy something from the
Hmm.
dollar store, dude. I was cutting frozen pineapple. Like I froze it before I cut it, and
Yeah,
I missed, and I thought I died. I literally thought I died. I had went through and hit my hand and cut the skin off my palm. And I
yeah,
was like, pineapple's not red. Why is it red?
yeah,
Oh, and
yeah,
like you don't notice because
yeah,
I was like opening up fridges and all these cabinets around my house, and
yeah,
then I
yeah,
finally
yeah, yeah,
noticed it,
yeah.
and there's just bloody handprints, like freaking what
Yeah.
do you
You
call it?
spilled the tomato sauce.
Yeah, spilled the tomato sauce, or someone got murdered in my house.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Exactly. Well, exactly. Yeah, yeah. And it's sort of, and it's funny as well because it's sort of I mean, I don't know how, I don't want to bang on about this for the whole podcast. I thought um, we would sort of have a more general chat about all kinds of stuff. But it is funny. I don't know how much you cook in general, but I found that actually. So the story is, if you want the full unfiltered version, is I moved away from my sort of hometown about 2014, 2015 to London. And obviously then I was on my own, had to cook for myself, had to live with a flatmate and sort of do my own stuff. And I found that period of time in the kitchen when you're cooking stuff is like at first it's quite scary. Then it becomes like, oh, I'm actually getting the hang of this. I can actually do my own. I can actually create my own dishes. This kind of stuff. And then you get like really creative, and you get like really adventurous, and you're like, oh yeah, everybody come around to my house, and I'm going to serve you like my best dish or whatever. And I don't know, and also that time when you're making the stuff, you had a lot of time to think about things, and that also is when all this other stuff started happening. This is just totally sort of extra detail, which you probably don't really require, but like start thinking about politics, start thinking about what you're doing, what you're doing with your life, I suppose. all this other stuff, relationships and stuff like
Well,
this. And
find something to filter. And I mean, I just
yeah,
spent what
so
most of my 20s trying to figure, like, I was just cooking
yeah,
microwavable meals. And then this past month, I have been on a fucking chicken
mm,
kick where it's like I finally learned the oven at 22 years old, and I'm just cooking the shit out of chicken over and over again. Like, I
yeah,
leave it in there, I
yeah,
put it in 450, leave it in there for 2 hours. People are like, you're nuts. I'm like, hang on a second, because it gets the chicken nice and crispy. I'm like, that's what life is, trying to
yeah,
figure shit out. We're
absolutely,
constantly moving at a pace that you can't really keep up with. The way the world works is you got to be doing something now, 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 and you
yeah,
don't have
yeah,
time
yeah,
to
yeah,
sit and have a good ass meal. Which I'm like, you
yeah,
need. I think honestly, it's probably at fault with some of the equipment. I think the reason why I don't like cooking so much is the fact that every utensil I own is taking forever to make something. Microwave is the fastest option, so it's the
yeah,
easiest choice of food to get things that are microwavable, but that's never healthy. Like a fucking hot
yeah,
pocket
yeah,
is not compared to like a nice clam chowder.
yeah. There might be a life kind of lesson there. It's like everything wants us to do it faster, to do stuff faster, in a shorter time.
Yeah, I
But
mean,
but
I
but is
think
that
it's
is that
the
the right thing?
it's the instant payout. It's not
Yeah.
the right thing. Everything is a process. Life is a process. You're born, and then there's that whole process through school. 15 years of my life I'm never getting
Mm,
back, and then next thing you know, you're an adult, and they just throw you
yeah.
out into the world like a fresh baby, saying, "Hey,
Yeah. Yeah.
welcome to life."
Yeah. My favorite bit is I heard someone say they get into their first job and they're like, "Oh, how do I get an A in this job?" And the boss is just like, "What are you talking about?" Because you're sort of just in this school, you're on this um, sort of school train track, and you're just kind of like, "Oh, what do I do?" It's always like, "How do I um, progress to the next,
It's
next
like
grade or whatever?"
milestones. The milestones are
Yeah.
set out for education. You want to know
Yeah.
the tip
Yeah.
to get hired in your next interview?
Go on.
Write your name saying hired, and they'll be like, your name, you're hired, thank you, and then just get up and walk out. They'll be like, what? I if I was the boss, I would hire you just on the
Yeah, yeah,
basis of you being that smart to think of that.
yeah, yeah. In my experience, unfortunately, the bosses are unfortunately in the same mindset, so they'll be like, "Oh no, throw this guy out. He thinks a bit differently. He's a threat now." Maybe that's a bit cynical. Maybe I'm being a bit too harsh there. But
Well, it's
yeah, yeah, could work.
I always thought, like, when you go to a job interview, they hire you based on your education, which I'm like, I feel like in the world today, that's not super important. Like before, it was like if even if you just had an associate's degree, you would get a job.
Yeah,
But now it's like, oh, you need to have a master's, and it's like,
yeah,
by the time I get my fucking master's, you're gonna want me to be like the first man in space on my resume,
yeah,
and I don't
exactly.
want to do that. It's
Yeah,
like I
yeah,
I
yeah,
feel like if you're just passionate about the job or you're passionate about whatever you're applying for, then you should get the job, because that man's gonna work way harder in his free time than the other person. Like, let's say, you're dealing with something in the cutlery business. You need to deal with like making knives. You need to find a new kitchen essential. It's gonna be better than the fucking slap chop or the sham wow. You know what hooked me in was the knife commercials. That got me hooked off the back. There was a person that was like, I got 50,000 knives in this small 100-foot store. That's a lot of knives. And I'm like, wow, that is a lot of knives. And he's like, if you call right now, it's going to be $29.99. But guess what? If you use my exclusive offer code, I'll throw in 200 knives and I'll drop that price down to $10.99. We got this knife that's in the shape of a rainbow. We got this knife that's literally meant to eat people. And I'm like, I need a knife like that.
yeah. It's an essential now. Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
It's a
But yeah,
central
you're right.
part.
I think yeah, you're right. It's that's yeah, I guess that is sort of how it goes. I think it's interesting you mentioned school because I've been thinking about that a lot recently. It is a
Are you
bit
thinking about
like
going back?
no, definitely not. No, well, I mean, yeah. Well, I wish I could go back to before I went there and then not
That
do it.
I wish,
But
like, I
yeah,
look at it like it's important, but I feel like a lot of the information that they're teaching is not the stuff that you should be learning. I believe that. So here's my thought, my 2 cents. I'll give it to you for free. Um, you like that? That was quick. That was a quick-witted one. Didn't learn that from school. Now,
yeah,
but
yeah,
give everyone a census test. But instead of based on your race and all these other types of things, you should do it on what are you interested in? Give them a questionnaire thing. You could choose woodworking. You can choose accounting. You can choose, if you're fucking into accounting, God bless you. But you could choose, anything. And I feel like that's what with college, where you get to kind of choose your classes later down the line. But do that in school. Like you see a kid that is struggling in math class, but he's fucking amazing in woodshop. Obviously, he's not meant to be a banker, so throw him in the woodshop class.
Yeah.
Well, he needs to know the basics. Okay,
Yeah.
well then
Yeah.
implement this in high school.
Yeah.
After the first year of high school, let anybody choose whatever classes they want. Because I guarantee you, the guys that are going to be athletes, the guys that, like some of my friends that I graduated with that are now doing amateur baseball, like
Mm.
like on TV and stuff, dude throws a 99-mile-an-hour fastball. Like, you don't need to be throwing him in fucking history class. Teach
Yeah.
him
Yeah.
best parts about sports. Give him gym
Yeah.
classes. Give him stuff to hone in that talent.
Yeah. Gonna be slightly controversial here, and I think you're sort of misunderstanding the idea of school.
I don't want to learn things I don't want to learn. I want to learn fun stuff.
Yeah, but you think school is about you think school is about educating children.
Oh,
That's what I
I
mean.
forgot. I thought that was the point of school. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
well, yeah. I mean, I made the same mistake. I made the same mistake.
I mean,
But yeah, sorry,
it's
go on.
is it like that in the UK though? Like they're breeding a lifestyle of people to work 9 to 5? Because that's what I think everyone noticed through this whole pandemic, was that we all got thrown out of a peg situation
Yeah,
where we had to stay home. We all
yeah,
realized our 9 to 5s, like we weren't happy in them. They were just something that somebody told us, this is what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to get a job and you're supposed to
yeah,
do this. And I'm like,
yeah,
well, I thought the whole point was supposed to be happy.
yeah. Well, I mean, I think there's sort of two sides to it, I guess. Because on the one hand, yeah, I mean, be be happy. I suppose in a sense, what schools should really teach you is how to how to
Survive.
sort of strike that balance between the thing. Well, yeah, that's fair. Strike that balance between the thing that you do want to do, which is either that it's not necessarily makes you happy. I think it's difficult because pursue your passion is like the worst advice ever, because you just go out and skydive your entire life or something. And not that I'm sure people can make money doing that. I'm not sure exactly
I
how,
can tell you, if
but
you base anything off my education in school, if you base me from
yeah,
school to where I'm at now, you would not have thought this would have been the route I would have chosen just for fun to do. I was a stoner. I forgot my backpack. I forgot my textbooks. I have no. The teacher literally
yeah,
goes, "Robbie, where's your homework?" I'm like, "I don't have it." They're like, "Where's your backpack?" I'm like, "I don't have it." They're like, "Do you know where you're
yeah,
at?" I'm like, "I don't fucking have a clue."
yeah. That's fair. Where are you from, by the way, Robbie? I didn't
From
ask. Sorry.
a little beach town called Ocean City, Maryland.
Okay, sure.
My
Where
accent's
is
not as good as yours.
I don't know. Well, yeah. I mean, this is the Queen's just down the road, so I have tea with her every day.
Do you like the Queen?
And no,
A
well,
lot of
yeah,
people
she's all
don't.
right.
Why?
I don't know. She's all right. I don't know. Well, it's just what do I like the Queen? I don't know. She's all right, I suppose. I mean, it's just kind of irrelevant. I mean, it's a very
She's got a lot of nice shit.
yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, yeah. And most of it in massive. Can I swear? I mean, we've been swearing the entire time, haven't we?
I've
Sorry.
said like 50 curse words
Yeah, I know. I
already.
know. Oh, that shows how much I'm listening.
Imagine how much of an asshole I'd have to be if I could curse, but my guests couldn't.
That
That's
would
like
be.
inviting somebody into their home and then you taking off your shoes and they go to do it out of respect. And they go, "You need to keep your shoes on because at any minute I can kick you out."
Well, that's fair. Keep people on their toes, like like the way you don't give any information before I came on, and I was just kind of like, what do I talk about? Because I'm just like, that's the school again, isn't it? It's just like,
It's
oh no, you must be prepared.
That's the whole point. I don't bring questions. What do you think, this is professionalism? This is a kid talking about whatever I want. I want to bring up poop, I'll bring up poop.
That's fair. Yeah. I don't have much to offer on that subject, but I mean, and it's interesting how we connected the Queen to that. So
But the
maybe we should
queen to
move on.
poop, I bet she takes amazing
Yeah.
poops, like the
Yeah.
small ones that just
Yeah.
disappear in the toilet where you're like, where did they go?
It's definitely something I don't think I've ever spoken about before.
If
Yep.
you could be king, would you be king? And I'm not talking about Lion King. I'm talking about being a king. If you could be a king, I don't think I can handle it. I got an
Yeah.
ego issue. So if I was put into power, everybody would be doing some weird ass shit. Like today we're walking backwards all day, and everyone's like, what the fuck? Like the Usain Bolt's
It would.
like, I can't walk backwards. I can run, I
Yeah.
can't walk backwards.
It would be pretty confusing. I don't know. Yeah, probably not. I mean, by the sounds of it, from what I know about it, it's not that. It's like it's all. Oh, I've got to go attend this meeting. Not meeting. This ceremony, this opening of this thing. I've got to be there for this. I've got to be there for that. I don't know if you ever watched The Crown on Netflix. I don't know if you have that in the US, but they the Queen is like this. It's a bit like the president. Is it a bit like the president? The president has a lot more power than the Queen. The Queen has almost nothing, like no power essentially. So it's almost like you get all the money, you get all the nice things you can think of in terms of stuff, but you're not allowed to do what you want other than if the
So it's like being in charge, but you have no power, only on the concept of you're basically a figurehead.
yeah, pretty much, yeah, like
That's
your drive
fucking awesome. What do you mean?
well, yeah, okay, yeah.
That is
Um,
ingenious. I don't have to make a single command. Nobody's going to listen to me, but everybody respects me and everyone cheers for me. So I get all the fame, but none of the responsibility. That is like amazing. I want to move to the UK now. I thought there was a big issue with it because I heard the weather wasn't the best, but I see it's
yeah,
sunny out. So it's like, hey.
it's all right. Yeah, this is probably about the 5 minutes we get per day. This is the peak time. But yeah. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's all right. It's yeah. I mean, that's the impression I get anyway. It's a bit like driving an ocean liner. You sort of like if you're the queen. I mean, you're the captain, and you can sort of you can maybe. Actually, it's not even like that at all.
Maybe
What am I talking
everybody,
about?
imagine if she has thoughts that like everybody is like just loving her and enjoying her, but really they're secretly like just she's slowly losing her mind, like she's going through
Yeah, well,
stages of
exactly.
dementia.
How
Like
would you know?
imagine the Pope, like you're the Pope, but like you're just like everyone's just making you believe that you're so important, but really everyone like behind your back's like just let him fucking do his thing. Oh, we just let him in here have 10 minutes of stage time to cheer in front of the
Yeah,
people.
yeah, definitely. It's a bit like one of those. I feel like you know how you have like brand ambassadors, and they're like kind of they're not allowed to say anything that's not on brand, and you're not allowed to do anything that's not on brand. You got to constantly wear all the stuff all the time, especially the Queen, but for the UK.
Oh
So
my
it's
god.
like a brand ambassador for the UK. Let's like even her personality is like, well, at least how we were 50 years ago, I suppose, but
I
hasn't
like you
moved on.
can't take the royal family down on the concept of like they're like your guys' representation, even though they have no power in anything you guys do.
Yeah,
So it's like this is just that sucks for us too over here in America because our figurehead right now is Trump.
yeah,
That's a fucking terrible way to meet a person.
that's fair. As in you. I know, yeah, I know what you mean. So basically, when you meet somebody from X country, it's like, oh, they are basically a small version of whoever's in charge at the time.
Well, it's like imagine like
Yeah,
if you just picked all the individual nations and then gave them like a
yeah,
a, a, a body or a person that represents
yeah,
them. Ours is an
yeah.
orange man
Cartoon
with
character, basically.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's terrible. Why don't we elect somebody that looks elegant and intelligent?
Yeah. But I suppose yeah, yeah, that's fair. I think the benefit there though is that you actually at least see through the show, whereas with the Queen, it's very much like oh, the show must go on, and
What do you
it's
mean you see through the show?
you
You know
must.
how much of America is so divided with what he says that nobody sees through
Yeah,
this is all an
yeah.
act?
Well, yeah. It's interesting actually because I do find that I mean I don't- funny I mean thinking about it I don't think many I mean all due respect I'm not sure many Americans are aware of this but a lot of British people are like they follow American politics more closely than they follow British
It's
politics
because it's
and
entertaining.
is that yeah and I think also there's this kind of concept there's this sort of tendency which again you might not be aware of but basically our politics almost it's like something that happens in America, like the concept of the middle ground, for an election, will suddenly be really fashionable in England. Suddenly, it will be like the Americans do it first, then some Americans are like basically hired by British political parties. It becomes the theme for the next British election, and now we seem to be in a similar situation where we've got this kind of, I mean, I think it's, I don't know how, the word divided is sort of an interesting phrase, because I'm not sure a country has ever, like, we don't all think the same. Do you know what I mean? But I know what you mean. And for us, um, like, we had Brexit, which you've probably heard of, and this coronavirus stuff as well. It's just like, it's like epic. Like, just like, people have just gone nuts about it. Just like, you can get on the bus and people will be like hurling abuse at you for not putting a mask on like 1 second before you jumped on,
I
or
think
vice
this
versa,
is
or vice versa, or
well,
vice versa.
this this is why
Yeah,
this is why everything is so, like, you want to say divided. I think it's just
yeah,
what happens when you don't have conflict in your everyday life. Like, if you don't have a day where, like, you don't see like a fight happen first. I mean, it's been throughout history that, like, even fight videos, World Star Hip Hop was a fucking big one when I was in school. But, like, it's all about, you like seeing the drama and the conflict of, like, your soap operas. Oh, I want to see, what's that fucking soap opera that used to come on all the time? Oh my god, my mom used to watch the shit out of it. What is it called?
what British one, or
No, it's not going to be a
American
British
one?
one. It's fucking American.
Okay.
There's
Yeah, of
cheeseburger
course.
and bacon
Yeah,
bits in our blood. Damn it. No.
absolutely.
Um. Desperate Housewives was a huge
Mm,
freaking soap opera. None of that stuff really plays anymore. And Jersey Shore was one where I always correlate. Like, once, like I remember having a day where I felt like nothing happened at school, nothing dramatic. Nobody was like trying to fight anybody. It was just this fucking normal average day. And I
yeah,
came home expecting I'm gonna come home to somebody yelling at me. So might as well like get ready for it. I walk in the door, nobody's home. And I'm like, fuck. Well, I'm empty. I'm not hungry. I'm just empty. But I was hungry for something else. And that was conflict. And I remember turning on TV and seeing
yeah,
Jersey Shore. And then I'm like, oh my God, this filled it. It's that you like seeing the people fight. And that's what life is. It's like we're just entertained to that. Or we're entertained with fucking British Bake Off on Netflix. I don't know why that's so popular.
yeah,
Everybody's mentioning it to me. I'm like, it's either we're obsessed with food or we're obsessed with conflict.
yeah,
And they also link together
yeah,
with addiction. You get upset, you eat food. You get
yeah,
upset, you love seeing somebody else's life go down the shitter. I don't know.
yeah. Yeah, I think everyone's just bored. Yeah, I think you're probably right. I mean, it's interesting because a couple of things actually. First of all, on British Bake Off, part of my inspiration for starting my business around the kind of concept of things actually looking cool was based on the fact that you have these people on British Bake Off and they're just like unimaginable. I mean, I'm not like knocking it or anything. It might be some people's cup of tea, or cup of coffee.
You said British Bake Off goes into your business.
Yes, so it was because I saw British Bake Off, and it kind of occurred to me that when you go to a shop now, like, the trend is Bake Off. So you go to a shop and you're looking for something interesting, like a new like, I don't know, trying to not make this sound lame, but like, a new set of plates or a new knife or new like cast iron pan or whatever, and it's all basically in the style of British Bake Off, and it's like it's all sort of pastel colored, kind of light, kind of pink, kind of minty tones, and just kind of like kitschy and kind of boring, basically. And that was sort of part of the reason I thought we needed something a bit more rugged and a bit more rugged in terms of what it looks like. Um,
Well, you say
I don't know
boring,
where
but
else
you
where I
got
was
to
where else
understand,
I was
like,
going with that, but
with the whole COVID situation that's going on, you're coming across a lot of people that are starting up baking like at home and stuff. So you have a whole
mm.
avenue. Like, this is the perfect time for your businesses on the aspect of how many people have gotten into, like, I don't know how many posts I've seen about sourdough bread. Jesus, everyone's a sourdough bread artisan or
Yeah,
baker now, and
yeah,
like
yeah,
either that or they're making pizzas or either they're
yeah,
they're doing something with pastries. And this
yeah,
is the perfect time for it because I think what really like I'm interested about is like you see those nice giant ass knives somebody used to cut open like a steak or something, but it's
Yeah,
like Damascus, but it's engraved in a bunch of different like cool ass ways. And you're like,
yeah,
that's
yeah.
badass to have in your kitchen. How like
Exactly.
I get freaking aroused when I see a salt and pepper shaker in the shape of something I've never seen before. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's interesting. But like
But
I
yeah,
mean,
so
it's
yeah,
the kitchen aspect of things. Like you talk down on your business a little bit, but I kind of want to highlight it because it is important too. I mean, you got to look at like that idea to make something. I mean, you're not just using it for the average person or the average mom or something. You got to make it affordable for anybody that wants to purchase things. And with the fact of how crazy
yeah,
everybody's looking at their food nowadays, I mean, everyone is like, maybe we should be making
yeah,
home cooked meals instead of having that McDonald's cheeseburger. At least over here in the States, perfect
yeah,
avenue. Sell people
yeah,
shit to make food
definitely. Yeah,
faster
yeah,
or easier.
yeah. Well, yeah, you're right. And actually, I was actually preparing a post on this for just this morning, actually, for Instagram. With that, I had this story in the Sun newspaper, and they said, McDonald's, massive scandal. McDonald's serving month out of date beef or something in their burgers. It's like everyone who goes to McDonald's is like, yeah, okay, big surprise. But like it's kind of like not that I'm knocking McDonald's, but it's kind of like people just don't. I mean, you're like, it sounds like you're saying, and I kind of slightly agree with you. Like everybody stop lecturing me about what I need to be eating. Is that right? Or
It's more on the
it's
lines of like people are now waking up to the fact that what
yeah,
they've been eating for so long is
yeah,
unhealthy.
it's
And then
just
like
crap. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
I watched my buddy put up a picture of a McDonald's cheeseburger, and what he did was before he ate it, he looked to check because they always put pickles on it, and he always
mm,
asked no pickles. There
yeah,
was mold on the cheeseburger, and he took a picture of it. He goes, "Dude, you know how many people would have just ate this?"
yeah,
And I'm like,
yeah. Well, yeah,
"Yeah."
exactly.
But then the next day he's at McDonald's buying the same thing. I'm like, "What the fuck?" Like I would
Yeah,
be done with that fast food in
yeah,
general if that
yeah,
happened
yeah.
to me.
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah, exactly. And I think one of the like a major, I think a major theme of like the 20th century or whatever is like people have just not, they just don't pay attention to that stuff anymore. And that's actually another theme for why I started the brand as well, because it's kind of like if you get into home cooking, you control what you eat, and you don't even need to like well, there's all these fancy diets out there that will get you to drop 30 stone in 2 weeks or whatever. And there's just you know what I mean? It's just like what's the none of this is just understand what you're eating. That's it's very simple.
It's like you
You
can
know,
eat unhealthy, but people always bring up this argument that with the
yeah,
fast food thing, it's convenience
yeah,
or
yeah, I agree. Yeah,
it's price. I understand that, but let me tell you, it's not the price because you could buy a cheeseburger for $1.36, I think it is, $1.37 sounds about right with tax.
mm,
Okay, a can of tuna is 99 cents.
yeah,
You're fucking me on the whole thing like,
yeah,
"Oh, well, it's just a can of tuna, it has no flavor." Okay, so you're doing it for the flavor.
yeah.
Well,
Well, it's convenience and flavor, isn't it? It's that combination. It's that sweet spot
It's
of
not it's not that good, dude. I'm not gonna lie. This morning when I was at the gym, I started smelling an egg McMuffin. That's the best fucking scent to me is a butter
yeah, it
biscuit
is.
and an
Yeah,
egg McMuffin from
that's
McDonald's,
fair.
bruh. But I started smelling it and I reached for my arm because I think I'm having a stroke because the sign of a stroke is toast. So I'm like, why am I smelling that? But I get it because
You've used this story before. I actually heard you say this exact
it's
thing.
true. It's true. But I literally people are like they're eating McDonald's and going to the gym and work out. It's like that totally negates the effect. Like, but
Yeah,
then
yeah, yeah,
people get
yeah,
into their
yeah,
headset that since they work out, they can eat like shit. I'm like,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
just take a closer look at your food.
yeah, yeah,
Anywhere
yeah,
else that lives, like in China, for instance, they eat rice or they eat other types
yeah,
of meals. They're a lot healthier and a lot less passive to each other
yeah,
than
yeah,
on the aspect of like we're eating food that's making us feel like shit. And when people get a bad self-image or they feel bad about
yeah.
themselves, they tend to take it out on the person beside them.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. Yeah, yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. I hadn't thought about it like that. But yeah, you're right. I mean, I had another. I mean, on that exact theme, I don't know what it's like in America, but in Britain, we have this. Well, I had a post a couple of days ago where it was like, I mean, I get the impression from listening to a lot of American podcasts and listening to American sort of commentators that British food is not. It's not we're not in the Premier League. Yeah, we're not in the
You're not in the
uh,
upper
we're
category,
not in
I
the
would
World
say.
Series. Yeah, exactly. We're not up there. So, and then I was thinking about what actually, yeah, because I was thinking to myself, so what are they eating? Like, what actually is British food? Like, I don't actually know. I'm here. I live here. I am British, and it's just like, so obviously burgers are American, or ham. I suppose whatever.
Tea is
Pete,
British.
yeah, we universally just eat tea and tea cakes. Is that a thing? Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know. So we have these like things that people just don't eat, or we don't know what our food is. It was obviously so rubbish, or our culture is so sort of weak, I suppose, that it's just been bulldozed by everything else. Anything from any other part of the world: Italian, American, Chinese, Thai, Indian, all kinds of other stuff. And you walk down the street in London, you might see a pub, like one or two pubs, but like they just, I mean, what do they serve? They serve burgers. Yeah, it's like nobody sells. There's no such thing as British food. I
I
just wondered if it
sense
is.
your business probably does a hell of a lot better in the States than it does in the UK. Only on the aspect of, I think, when I wouldn't say that your stuff is rubbish. I would just say that your priorities are definitely focused on another avenue compared to what our priorities are. Like America's priorities is food, Italian culture is food. You
Yeah,
know, these places are known to have like exquisite meals or something.
yeah, yeah,
But your priorities seem to be a lot more in the economic industry a little bit, like trying to keep a balanced state where or government where people aren't just ripping themselves apart. I mean, that over here that nobody's focused on that shit at all. Everyone's like, I'm in Texas, I can do what I want. I'm going to
yeah,
own as many tigers as I want. Well, that's the issue, is like that's the thing. I'd rather have a better government or a better system where I can go to my job, have a nice home. Everybody in the UK, you might say your home's not the best. Honestly, they're not as big as American homes, but you guys seem a lot happier and you guys seem a lot less conflicted. I also think that boils down to your money too, because for some reason our money's green because we just have this weird story behind it. But like
yeah,
in another country, the money's a different color and you guys hold less worth to it. It's worth a little bit less to you in the mind. Like for us, greens, like acceptance, go, everything's green. So then we want to get as much of it as possible, or we want to take over somebody else's life. And I'm like, that's the best part about having a different colored money, is you look at it like differently. Like it's fucking blue. What the fuck do I care? It's blue. It's not appealing to my eyes. But if it's green, you're like, I need to spend it now.
need it now. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't know. I don't know about that. That's interesting. I hadn't really thought about it, but it's interesting how you think that. I mean, like
Think it through.
it's weird. Like for example, I mean, I mean, I don't know which avenue to go down first. I mean, this flat that I live in, right, is two bedrooms. We're in central London, and for the same price, you could probably get um, like a mansion on the outskirts of one of our northern cities. That's the sort of differential we're sort of talking about in terms of price, in terms of various areas in this country specifically. Um, I know what you mean. There is this sort of tendency for everybody, like I don't know, I don't know, I don't know where to go with
You got
that.
to pick
Yeah,
an avenue and run down it. Just start
yeah,
talking.
yeah. Just start talking. So in terms of the money, so what you're saying that the fact that the money is a different color means that we spend it differently.
Yeah.
Yeah, you reckon? That's interesting. I hadn't really thought about it like that.
I've been thinking about it. I'm like, because everything means when it's green or it's this, it's like really appealing to the eyes. And I'm like,
Yeah.
it's like reason why I wore a white shirt, all because when you messaged me saying you were nervous, and I was like, don't be nervous. I wore a white shirt because a white or bright colors are very appealing to someone's eyes, which opens up a good vibration or a good energy that gives off. Like, hey, I can talk to this guy. If you wear black, it might be slimming, but it's less likely to be striked up into a conversation with them. Like, I just start looking at shit like, what's the
Yeah.
weird science behind it all? How does our brain correlate things?
Yeah.
Honestly, I think we're on a rocky ship. I'd like to go back maybe 10, 15, 100, 200 years ago to where money wasn't that important of a thing to survive,
Yeah.
because that's the
I,
problem, is that's linked to education.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I agree with you to an extent. I think people tend to have a very unhealthy relationship with it. I mean, it is, you got to remember at the end of the day, if you think about it purely in sort of economic terms, money is simply a store of economic value, which you can, if you've got lots of it, then fine. It doesn't make you a better
It's
person.
a
It just means
piece
that you
of
have more.
paper that
Exactly.
controls your life. And
You,
depending
you
on
think?
how much you have, it sets
Yeah.
your life out for you, depending on what your class or the way you live is. That's the weirdest thing I've ever, and that didn't come to me until at my gym that I work at. A woman had come in and she's dumber than a box of rocks. God bless her. She's the nicest person in the world, but she has so much money, it is ridiculous. Like, she charges everything gets charged to her account. I don't think she knows what that is.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
have to pay for this. It's like a tab.
Yeah.
And she's
Yeah.
like, just charge it to my account. She racked up $465 in like a matter of a week. But she
Wow.
has some guy that comes in, there you go, tosses it out like it's nothing.
Yeah.
No intelligence, no education needed there.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
was just a factor of they had the money and you're able to survive. So I'm like, why do we have this mentality that we need to be master degrees or something to be able to earn money? You just got to find where your niche is.
Yeah.
Everyone's
Exactly.
got one.
I agree. Yeah. I say a really good thing I read recently actually on this kind of thing is a book called Profit First, which sounds like some evil capitalist propaganda.
Sounds like a religious cult.
Yeah, well, quite, yeah. But actually has some very good sort of life lessons, and in terms of like, you say accountancy is boring, which it is. I agree. But this is sort of like it simplifies everything, and it gets you in that mindset where because humans have this thing where, and I think this chick that you're talking about was probably in that mindset where it's like, oh, the money is definitely in my account, so just spend it, just get rid of it, just get rid of it as fast as possible. Let's just spend it on something. Just get rid of it. Do you know what I mean? Like,
She was
I
more in the
must.
mindset of that she knew she had a sugar daddy, an older guy that had scored a
Well,
younger chick that was going to pay his debt. But I get what you're saying. I
very
think
good. Yeah,
it's honestly it's like the Bill Gates mentality. Even though a lot of people hate him right now,
yeah.
I really like his stance on a lot of things when it comes to. All right, I'm gonna say this because
Vaccines.
I get I get feelings about people, like if they're
Yeah,
good or
yeah,
bad. I
sure.
think Mr. Rogers is a fucking crazy person, but Bill Gates, I look at him, I don't think he's evil. I think him telling people to get vaccine was in the wrong way. I think he's trying to do his best to make sure people don't get sick and die. He's truly out here trying to help people. But his mentality when it comes to money is pretty amazing, with the fact of he has billions of dollars, but it's hard for him to make like small purchases on things. Like, he wears the same attire, he wears these low budget, like he could be buying Gucci or Versace, but he's wearing a
Yeah,
fucking cardigan or a
yeah,
sweater. I have money saved up, but I try and keep that mentality because you start to
yeah,
notice the more you have, the more you're willing to spend. So frugal, like I'll throw that right out the window. And that's the issue, is
yeah,
that just because you have it doesn't mean you need to spend it. It's like
yeah.
saving it
Exactly.
for a rainy day.
Absolutely. Yeah, 100%. That's exactly what I mean. Yeah. And the thing about this about Profit First, the book, is actually really good because it digs deep into that, tells you what's going on in your mind. It's this sort of human impulse to just basically reach sort of, I don't know, fill that kind of concept where if you don't have much to do, you fill all the time you've got with doing whatever the pointless thing that is you're doing. And the same with your budget. So if as you say, as you earn more money, you tend to sort of increase your spending to fill the budget. But this is a good way. So you have a couple of accounts. You automatically move, for example, all your bills to one account. You automatically move your savings to one account, and then you leave your account, your current account, or your current card, whatever, um, with as little money as possible, to to keep you on the ground, keep you grounded in terms of your spending. So you don't move to spend a bit more just because you feel like you can, and then over time, obviously you save up shitloads of cash because you're not spending, as you earn more, you sort of save more, so you're not spending as much of it. And it's interesting you mentioned about Bill Gates always dresses sort of in the same way, because I noticed there's quite a lot of people who are like that. I mean, Zuckerberg is always like, it's always a grey hoodie and a t-shirt or something, isn't it? It's like,
Well, people always bring
um,
up the concept of like, oh, well, you can't take that money with you when you die. But it's like, yeah, but
yeah,
there's gonna be better options and better avenues than that fucking whatever $10 shirt, $15 shirt, $400 shirt that you're gonna
yeah,
buy. There's always something else that you're gonna want later down the road. It's about saving up
yeah.
for that investment. I think a
And
weird
I think
thing.
also if you have children as well, I mean, that I mean that's the post-death scenario, isn't it? I mean, you leave it to your family, I guess. But yeah, sorry, carry on.
Until they death tax you, and then that takes a big chunk of your money out. But when it comes to the factor of like, if you look at another way we should be valuing currency more than money, maybe we should look at more of like a karmic type thing. I've started to notice that like a lot of things, and I'm not saying I believe in karma, but when it comes to like I do something nice, I don't expect anything in return. Kind of like on Christmas, you expect to give a gift, but you don't really expect a lot, even though most people are expecting something. Um, but it's that thing where it's like you're not expecting anything and it always ends up coming back around to me. Like I've helped people give people ride home that work at like the food line or something. And the other day I was in there. The guy who gave me this legit, I will shout it out on here. This is a McDonald's Happy Meal toy. I just drove through the drive through. I was like, I got a toy. He's like, what the fuck? I was like, can I get a toy? He's like, you grown ass man. I was like, I am a grown ass man. I want a toy. And he handed it to me. Well, he got a new job at Food Line because of COVID and everything. And
Yeah,
I saw him walking home one day and I gave him a
yeah,
ride home at like 1 o'clock in the
nice.
morning. I was just like, yeah,
Yeah,
get in the car. And
yeah,
I'm gonna kidnap you. No, but I
yeah.
gave him a ride home, dropped him off, and then he bought my like I went into Food Line, he bought some of my groceries for me. I was like, thank you. He's
Wow.
like, that's for giving me a ride, man. I was like, it all comes back around is what people need to look. So I'm like, let's do this. It's a little test on the world. Do something nice and consider that like a form of currency. Every time you help somebody out, that's a point in your category. So I'm just saying it's a little mind game you could play. I think that like if you start creating your own minds in your game, not enough to where you create schizophrenia or paranoia where you confuse the shit out of yourself, but more in the lines of like maybe if you create things like a game, like when I was a kid, if I had to clean the toilet or something, I would turn into a game. Like you had to fucking get as
Yeah,
like Space Invaders or some shit. Just do that. Vacuum it. I
yeah,
turned that into a
yeah,
game.
yeah,
Make life more fun by turning things into a game. Not Grand Theft Auto style, like running over people on the street, but fucking in looking at it in a different light. I believe that the world can be. I think that's where our mind's at. For that level of change, it needs to be something that is going to make it entertaining for us to do, and then we'll want to do it.
yeah. Definitely agree. Which actually, funnily enough, brings it full circle, doesn't it? Because let's see. So what kind of age were you when you were pretending to play Space Invaders while you were cleaning the toilet or whatever it was
How
your chore was?
that started at 7, and I still do it today.
Yeah, I used to do.
I still
Okay.
fucking do that shit.
Well, I think So what happened in between was not to like make too massive a deal of this, but in between what happened was school, and I find that and this is actually it's fascinating that you bring this up because I was kind of I'm in this kind of mastermind group for entrepreneurs and whatever, which is sort of part of the sort of thing I've built around my business in order to keep me going. And a lot of things I talk about is how yeah, you can work as hard as you like on something, but if you don't enjoy it, you'll burn out, obviously. And we talked about that earlier. But like the more that people do that sort of almost like game, like life, this is just fun, it's just a game, it doesn't matter what happens mentality, like
You're
the
willing to
more
take more risks.
exactly, yeah, exactly, you take more risks, and also you sort of I think in general you would experience more results. I mean, for example, on this podcast is obviously fun for you. What you haven't, presumably you haven't, yeah, but I mean, forgive me, but from reading the bio and reading about the podcast, it's not like you've mapped out where you're going with it. You're
Not
just
at
doing
all.
it. No,
I just
exactly.
brought
Yeah,
up I was 7 years old when I
yeah,
was making Space Invaders to clean off Finkel matter off my fucking toilet. You
yeah,
think that was scripted? I
yeah,
wish I could think of that ahead of time.
yeah. Very good. Um,
But
but it does mean
it's
it does mean you'll never be employed again.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna die alone. But it's important to really kind of like hone in on a lot of this stuff too. Is
Yeah,
like the
yeah, yeah,
factor of
definitely.
like how many risks. I always talk like I've been talking about recently, at least, is the factor of like I think our biggest enemy is not somebody, not the cops, not all this other type of stuff that's going on between our countries and societies. Not another
Yeah,
country is not our enemy. What's
yeah,
our enemy is ourself. Ourself is my biggest enemy and is the one that I am afraid of and I hate the most. But
yeah,
that keeps me thriving and progressing to want to do more. When I
yeah.
look at myself, like, why am I not wanting to do that? Well, I'm afraid of this or because of this or because of that. It's like you're setting those obstacles up. That's you. That's nobody
Yeah,
else.
exactly, exactly. Yeah, it's like, oh, where's the payback? Where's my payoff for this activity? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I agree.
What
It's
would you
just
say is your biggest challenge, like before you even thought about start? Because that's not. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, like if you're thinking about like wanting to be like a billionaire, like
yeah,
a kitchenware is a hard fucking one to throw out. I don't know if you ever seen Napoleon Dynamite where he pulls out the Tupperware. It's strong enough to be run over by my van. Then he backs it over and it smashes into a million pieces and just
yeah,
drives off.
yeah. Um, sorry, what was the question? Like, what's the
Oh, you got me thrown off now. But like,
what's the biggest like thing? What's
what's
the
the
biggest
biggest
obstacle?
challenge you had in your mind, and when did you decide, like, what was that moment of like, I'm going to start this company up, like I'm going to do this is what I'm going to go for?
Um, I gotta be honest. I don't know exactly, but there was one of the main challenges is that is that concept that's always in your head. It's like, well, you've never done this before, so you can't do it.
So that got you pissed off enough to.
I don't know. I don't know. Well,
That's how
it's
I
just
went to college.
there
That
was.
somebody told me I wasn't college material. I was like, well, I'm going to fucking
Yeah,
college.
maybe that is actually. I do remember a very specific. That's funny because I do remember a very specific memory from when I was younger, and I used to be like a competitive swimmer, and we were at this swimming gala and or the swimming meet. I don't know what you call it, but event and race, I suppose. And this guy who's like my biggest rival or competitor at the time, who I used to train with all the time, just randomly out of the blue, like just kind of turns around to me and says, "You're not going to beat me this time, Tim." And I was like, I didn't say anything. I was just like, okay. And then obviously,
You
at the end of
whooped
the
that
story, just
ass, didn't
absolutely
you?
destroyed that kid. Yeah, it's hilarious. I didn't think about, didn't do it consciously. Just happened.
It's what I
So
tell
maybe
people
you are
about
right.
like,
Maybe you're right.
I'm not a motivational speaker and I'll never be one because I don't like those people. But I look at like
I don't know.
people.
It's been quite good so
People either set goals for themselves that are so impossible to reach, or they set goals for themselves that are too easily reachable. Find the middle ground. It should be a goal that is obtainable, but it's going to take a lot of fucking work. That's the only way you're going to be able to at least try and go after anything with a mentality of, I'm not going to stop. I think
yeah,
everyone's mentality is like, once I get there, once I get there. Why do
yeah,
you want that to be the last plateau? I'm like,
yeah,
I
yeah,
it's like saying you peaked and then everything down from there is going to be the freaking downfall of your life. I'm like, that sucks. Why? I hope I don't peak until
yeah.
I'm dead.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, yeah. As also, I mean, if you got something to aim for, I think that's quite good. But you've got to be like again, you've got to enjoy that journey. Yeah, you've got to play it rather than work it. I suppose play the game rather than not play the game as in be a slime bag. But I mean, play the game, play your game.
This
But,
is like a simulation. We're literally all living like in a video game. Literally, it's like
yeah,
Sims. Are you going to be the guy that just sits at home with a vending machine in his house,
yeah,
or do you want to be the
yeah,
guy that has a level 5 career in law
yeah,
enforcement or whatever
yeah,
career path you want to choose, and then also
yeah.
has a vending machine in his house?
Yeah. Well, that's the question, isn't it? It's like, let's say you're a zillionaire. What would you do? Would you still be doing this? Presumably, yes, because
Yeah.
whatever.
I would
What
not.
would you
I
be
guarantee you, I would be even twice as frugal with my money if I was a zillionaire.
doing?
Honestly, if I offered you $1 billion, what would be the first thing you would do with it?
I would. The first thing I would do would be to buy a family house for my fiance and I and our future family. I don't know what the second thing would be, but that's the only.
That's your priority.
That's my one thing. Yeah, I mean, part of the reason why I started the business again. I mean, I keep banging on about this, but hopefully it's okay. Is because you sort of get to this. Jesus Christ.
That sun is getting bright on you.
Yeah, it's getting bright, isn't it? Is because it was like, so you're working your 9 to 5, and you kind of get to this point where you're like, okay, well, I'm, whatever I was at the time, 28 years old or whatever, and it was kind of like, okay, so I'm earning this much, but there's like some people who are earning like nearly 10 times what I earn, and this is not going to get me there. So what do I need to do?
I literally
It's just
heard
kind of like
today,
this.
I heard somebody say like, oh, this education system is paying their teachers $60 an hour. And I'm like, $60 an hour, man. Fuck. Like, that's like, but I think that also produces laziness because then eventually you're like, oh, I only have to work one day and I have the same
Yeah,
paycheck you have as working for a week. But I'm like, yo, but
yeah,
is it better to have a lot of time off? Like if I had $1 billion, I would build a little small shack where I would still have the same setup to be able to do this, but I would really go out and help people. Like I know that sounds very like, oh, sure you would, but no, I legit would be like, hey, if you
yeah,
tie my shoe, here's $5,000. No,
yeah,
I would literally be like, hey, like helping people out in a bind. I think I would fund a
yeah,
lot of that money into definitely the economy because I feel like there's not enough natural beauties when it comes to like nature parks and stuff, and those are considered like the best forms of therapy, which I'm like,
yeah, yeah.
we need more of that shit, man. We need
Sure.
like, I want to pay the BBC to not have a person that has a lisp that does their freaking thing,
You watch
but
the BBC. You know about the BBC.
I do. You'll hear about it in 585 with
Oh
Jill.
yeah.
She
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Anybody
Yeah.
listening,
Yeah.
if you listen to this, please go submit an article to BBC saying they need to hire her because
Yeah.
God,
Yeah.
they rejected her thing and she has
Yeah.
the best audio drama.
Well, maybe, yeah. I was gonna say
I'm
maybe she's
pro
better
people,
off.
man. I'm like literally like if you're I'm always pro little guy. I'm always because dude, I know what it's like. I've been told my whole entire life that you're not going to be anything, and I said okay.
Yeah.
You're probably right, but damn it, I'm gonna have fun trying to do something.
Yeah. That's. I think that's a good response. Um, maybe I was gonna say maybe you can. Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
You should make an
Interesting.
oven mitt that it doesn't look like my 90-year-old grandma owns it.
Maybe. Maybe I will. Yeah, I mean, I've been thinking about that, because it is a bit. It's just like, what are these based on? Literally everything we've got in our kitchens is like based on housewives of the 1950s, isn't
I
it? Like
know.
basically, yeah,
And
this is the whole point.
the whole time period with people like you have two dads, you have two moms, you have all these types of things. You think we would update our like, hey, let's make some manly kitchenware, except and
Yeah,
then
yeah,
if it's barbecue, it's all man stuff. It's like,
yeah,
where's the
yeah,
woman
yeah.
stuff for that?
It's a bit weird, isn't it? Yeah, it's
I'm gonna
a
make
bit
a
of a weird combo.
barbecue Instagram where it's gonna be
Yeah,
me baking with an easy bake oven.
it's actually a decent idea, like because you could have like because there's all kinds of stuff you could do with that because there's a very specific audience, isn't it? Like, you know what I mean?
At the
Like, the more
same time,
niche.
I'll make shrinky dinks.
Yeah, I actually don't know what those are, so I'm just laughing.
It's a freaking
But
little thing, like a little like a giant sheet of like oh god, what is it, like plastic paper or something? But you color it in, and you put it in a little oven that heats it up like a toaster oven, and it comes out, and it's like a little art mirror, like glass thing you put in your window. That's a
that's so
shrinky
bizarre.
dink.
Nice.
I had a
Yeah,
Spider-Man one when I was a kid.
nice. Very good. Is that could be big business? Could be. I
Don't
don't know.
fucking doubt me. I will turn that
Uh,
shrinky dink
it's-
business into like Rent a Center.
be
That
my
was a
be my
scheme.
guess.
Did you have Rent a Center in the UK?
Um, I it doesn't ring a bell.
Bruh,
What
you
is?
all right, so this is a big thing where I don't understand. I like to pay for my object up front. So if I'm gonna pay for something, I'm not gonna do layaway. I'm not gonna do all these things.
Yes.
Rent a
Yeah.
Center, you pay rent on whatever you bought from there. Yo, I sat on the couch the other day without a sheet on it, and somebody yelled at me, was like, "There's no sheet on that couch. I'm still paying it off." I'm like, "We've had it for 4 fucking years. What do you mean you haven't paid it off?"
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But that's just yeah. They're actually trying to make that illegal here.
I hope they do.
Um,
Layaway is a scheme. I was like, if you don't have all the money for it up front, then don't buy it. You don't need it. Because if you
yeah.
keep being in debt to anything, this isn't
I
the
think it's yeah.
mafia.
It's a bad yeah. It's a bad. I think it's yeah. I don't want to be moralistic about it, but I do think it is a bad way to live. It's sort of like sometime in the future. Like it just kind of
You
you just
paid
don't.
for half your shirt, Tim. You paid for half of it. I get to keep
Yeah,
the other half. So you got
yeah.
to crop top it until you come up with the rest.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. But then again, I suppose I haven't actually paid for my house, so it's obviously on a mortgage. So does that count? I don't know. Yeah,
All,
I don't know.
all
It's a
you
weird
need
one,
to
isn't
know is all hail the queen.
it? Yeah, exactly. God save the Queen. Yeah, exactly.
I want to see
Yeah,
her. I just want to give her a hug.
yeah. Well, you won't be able to right now because of COVID, but I'm sure we can organise it.
But I don't
Like I
have.
said, I go to tea with her every week, so
Do you really? Zoom me in on that one.
yeah, yeah.
Well, Tim, I appreciate you for doing the podcast, brother. Please promote the Instagram page, man. Let people know where they can find your amazing page.
It's at Sword and Stone UK. That's the business page. Um, we
Website.
yeah, sorry. Swordandstone.co.uk
.co.
is the website. Well, yeah, sorry, swordandstone.co.uk. Yeah. It's a tricky one. We don't do that many American orders. I know this is like totally defeating the whole point of me, but
This
I
is
thought I'd
your
just do it for the
audience, in
laugh.
America.
Well, yeah, but
How are
this is what I
people
mean.
gonna cut their uh,
Stuff. How are they going to look
garlic
cool while they?
knots?
Exactly. Yeah. How are they? Well, if an investor is listening,
You should start selling to the queen, not just fancy kitchenware, but like change up their swords. Like the Royal Army pulls out like a Swiss Army sword where it's got
yeah,
like a can opener at the bottom of it. You're
yeah, that's
like,
a
in
good
case
idea.
the queen ever gets thirsty for some soda pop or something. No, that was a.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's the next market.
That's what I'm saying. I'm an
Needs to
innovator,
be
bro.
cracked. Yeah, yeah, absolutely, 100%. But thanks for having me on anyway, Robbie, because it's been fun. I mean, like I said, I originally was thinking, oh my god, like what what is this guy going to chat to me about? But it's been fun. It's been really good.
Well, I
Yeah.
appreciate you for coming on, Tim, and thank you for listening to this episode of Out of the Blank podcast.